and welcome friends.
In the last module, we discussed about the various air pollution treaties have been signed internationally. So as the various nations enter into such treaties, they are bound to maintain the air quality for their region so as to avoid any global impact. Hence, in order to check whether they are maintaining the air quality to the required extent, there is a necessity to run various air quality monitoring programs effectively. So in this particular module, we'll discuss about the air quality monitoring programs in India as well as even some features associated with the developed countries. We'll also discuss about some of the air quality issues that are pertinent to India as well as action taken so far. So as you learn the content, you'll be able to discuss major features of Indian as well as global air quality monitoring programs, as well as state the major air quality issues associated with India and actions taken so far. Through the couple of the discussions that we had, it is very clear to us that any pollutant which is entering in atmosphere for a particular given region may not be creating the harmful impact only for that particular region, but it may have its impact even in adjacent regions as well as even at the global level. Some of such global impacts like acid rain, ozone layer depletion, global warming, and climate change. Every nation has to be very particular about executing such kind of air quality monitoring programs. Through these particular programs, as the data is collected locally, it could be having considerable relation or it may not be having the similar trend as far as regional, continental or global trend is concerned. Hence, all the data need to be collected with the involvement of various agencies which will be acting locally, regionally, continentally as well as even globally. With the same intention, during 1970s, World Health Organization as well as World Meteorological Organization initiated these global air quality monitoring programs. The World Health Organization was trying to collect the data associated with the impact areas that are urban as well as industrial. As such, the basic objective of this World Health Organization was to collect the data on micro level so as to protect urban population. However, this World Meteorological Organization was trying to have the data in order to understand the trends on macro level so as to understand what are the long-term global changes as well as what is their extent at the regional level. Subsequently, this activity was supported by United Nations Environmental Program as they authorized the General Environmental Monitoring System program. This General Environmental Monitoring System was intended in order to deal with expansion of the human health warning systems, assessment of global atmospheric pollution as well as its impact, assessment of critical problems associated with the agricultural and land use practices. In India, with the similar intentions, the program is being run in order to assess the air quality at the state level as well as even the national level in form of state air monitoring program and national air monitoring program. We'll discuss about it subsequently. So let's try to understand more about this global environmental monitoring system. So as we pointed out on the last slide, it is activity of United Nations Environmental Program. It involves the collaboration among the global stakeholders to enhance and keep the status of the quality of the world's air quality. It builds the capacity and generates services in partnership with multiple stakeholders. So, as we consider this particular sketch, at the outer circumference, it is shown as Consortium for Better Air Quality Data Collection. So it involves many stakeholders such as civil society, certain United Nations agencies, private sector, space agencies, academicians, and even some convenient groups. So as these groups collect the data and they provide that data in line with the region for which it is applicable, it is clubbed through the satellite observations, modeling, as well as ground measurements, and through number of case studies. The trend is analyzed. This trend is further transformed into some data through the partnership development, certain innovation labs, also awareness raising programs which would be run both bottom up as well as top down manner. There will be capacity development, the knowledge, ideas would be exchanged, the collaboration will be encouraged, so that through this particular trend analysis, ultimately the results will be used for upscaling through number of pilot scale plants. If we consider the similar air quality monitoring programs in United States, this is directed at the systematic long-term assessment of the pollutant levels by measuring the quality, quantity, and types of certain pollutants in the surrounding ambient air. So the objectives are to assess the extent of the pollution, to provide the air pollution data to the general public in the timely manner, to support the implementation of the air quality goals as well as standards, to evaluate the effectiveness of emissions control strategies, to provide information on air quality trend, to provide data for evaluation of air quality models, and also to support the research. In addition, these ambient air quality monitoring networks are designed and operated by tribal, state, as well as local governments. Certain environmental protection agencies' Ambient Monitoring Technology Information Center contains monitoring methods and quality assurance and even the control procedures. Also, the air quality systems is national repository of ambient air pollution data having public access. Air Now provides easy access to real-time and forecast air quality information using air quality index, which will be helping even a common man to understand what is the impact likely to be caused because of that pollution level. As far as Indian circumstances are concerned, various researchers have shown and pointed out major air quality issues. So, some of that let's try to understand. The vehicular pollution is responsible for the emission of carbon monoxide, carbon dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, oxides of sulfur, VOCs, as well as the particulate emission. This on-road transportation is contributing 97% of the emissions that are entering into the atmosphere. Certain critical industries are identified which are causing the pollution to the higher extent, such as steel, sugar, paper, aluminum, pesticide, fertilizers, cement, which are responsible for the emission of particulate matter, oxides of the sulfur, oxides of the nitrogen, as well as carbon dioxide. The agriculture sector is responsible for the emission of methane, nitrous oxide, as well as ammonia. The 74% of the total power generated in India is produced through the thermal power plants. Hence, the sulfur dioxide, oxides of the nitrogen, and particulate matter emission has been increased over 50 times since 1947 to 1997, the data that is observed. Also, there are issues associated with the management of the solid waste, as well as still there are certain practices associated with the biomass per rig. So, according to the data that is available through the 2016 studies, in Delhi alone, around 5,300 tons of particulate matter PM10 and 7,550 tons of PM2.5 are generated every year only because of the burning of garbage and other municipal solid waste. Also, the wastewater treatment plants are responsible for the emission of methane as well as ammonia, and based on this, some of the major findings as pointed out by the various researchers, even there is a presence of the traces of heavy metals in soil samples adjacent to the roadways. There is a loss of crop yield. The mortality rate due to the air pollution had doubled between 1990 to 2010 in capital city. 22 of the world's 30 most polluted cities are in India, and it is shown that the toxic air that is present in India kills more than 1 million people in each year. Hence, as the efforts are made and being made to reduce the impact locally as well as regionally. Certain measures have been taken through the various programs, and we are trying to understand these prior to implementation of National Clean Air Program in India. So we have discussed about the various international treaties that have been signed, as well as briefly we touched about the implementation of various schemes nationwide in order to avoid the harmful impact on the atmosphere. Air quality standards have been implemented as well as revised. 17 polluting industries are identified in order to establish the control. There are many networks which are operating manually as well as continuously on real-time basis that have been spread over the nation. There is accessibility to air quality data as well as there is an introduction of air quality indices for easy understanding of the common public. There is a strategic implementation of Bharat stage emission norms for the various vehicles. This is made applicable for the internal combustion engines as well as even the spark ignited engines. There is an emphasis on ethanol blending as well as use of alternative fuel. As on today, if we consider this 2022 status, many people are opting for e-bikes as well as electrical driven vehicles. Many corporations, local bodies are cautious about observation to avoid the burning of the biomass as well as waste. Certain study indicates that around 18 to 20% of the people only, as far as Indian circumstances are concerned, use the public transport, whereas 80% of the people use their or prefer their own vehicle, and hence it has been promoted to enhance the usage of this public transport. Certain pollution levels are assessed during the major festivals such as Ganesh Pujan as well as Deepavali. There are proper strategic movements for the enforcement of the various environmental protection laws, in addition to some preparation of graded action plan for some sensitive regions. So let's try to understand what is meaning of this graded action plan. This graded action plan is a set of the measures to be taken to reduce the air pollution depending on the pollution level that would be existing during a particular period. In order to understand the meaning and the background, this was notified by Union Environmental Ministry in 2017 to fight the air pollution based on the directives obtained through the Supreme Court. So initially it was made applicable simply for Delhi, and this was expected to work only as an emergency measure. So the action being taken by the state governments over the year in order to tackle the pollution because of the industry, vehicle or combustion was not taken into account. This GRAP is incremental in nature. For example, when the air quality deteriorates from poor to very poor, the measures listed under both the sections are to be followed. As we consider the example over the next slide, the concept will be more clear. Also, for each action to be taken under particular air quality category, the executive agency is clearly identified and marked in order to have the proper reset. So let's try to understand the mode of the action of this GRAP. Let's consider that the situation for a particular region is of emergency. It is the pollutant levels are recognized as more than severe. So in order to cause this particular situation, PM 2.5 is more than 300 microgram per cubic meter, or particulate matter 10 is more than 500 microgram per cubic meter consistently for 48 hours. So under such circumstances, as I considered this implementation for Delhi, it was proposed under this GRAP to stop entry of the trucks into Delhi. Obviously, some of the essential commodities were allowed to, as well as the construction activity was to be stopped. There was a requirement to introduce the odd even scheme for private vehicles and minimize the exemptions. Also, the task force was directed to decide any additional step, even including shutting down the schools. So, through this particular example, one can understand that as a certain pollutant level crosses its limit for certain duration, the situation is defined under a particular category, and in order to bring down that particular pollutant levels and alter the situation, certain immediate measures were suggested in addition to the common measures that have been taken by the local governors. So if the situation is severe, if the situation is very poor, or the situation is moderate to poor, the various measures have been suggested under GRAP are listed here. In India, in order to monitor the quality of the air, the program being run through the efforts of Central Pollution Control Board is National Air Quality Monitoring Program, abbreviated as NAMP. So this is nationwide program. Similar program is also run on the state level, and that program is termed as State Air Quality Monitoring Program, SAMP. The objectives are common: to determine the status and the trends of ambient air quality, to ascertain whether the prescribed ambient air quality standards are violated, to identify the non-attainment cities. So these non-attainment cities, as we consider certain national ambient air quality standards and the data which is generated through these air monitoring programs, if consistently over the 5 years, if the data is not within limits, that region would be, that city would be termed as non-attainment city, and for that some definite action plan is to be executed. Also, one of the objectives is to obtain the knowledge and understanding necessary for developing preventive as well as corrective measures, and to understand the natural cleaning processes undergoing in the environment through pollution dilution, dispersion, wind-based movements, dry deposition, precipitation, chemical transformation of the pollutants being generated from the various sources. So for this National Air Quality Monitoring Program, 4 pollutants are identified as sulfur dioxide, oxides of nitrogen, respirable suspended particulate matter, and fine particulate matter PM 2.5 according to the present practices. So all regular monitoring agencies which are working on the various stations which are placed in commercial place, industrial place, and certain domestic place will be collecting this kind of the data. In addition to monitoring through these pollutants, even certain meteorological parameters are monitored, which are wind speed, wind direction, relative humidity, and the highest and lowest temperature that is observed over a day for a particular place, which can be integrated with the pollution levels that are observed through 4 hours and 8 hours cycle. So this network consists of 793 operating stations covering 344 cities and towns in 29 states and 6 union territories of the country. In addition, there are 134 real-time continuous ambient air quality monitoring stations in 71 cities across 17 states, monitoring 8 pollutants: PM10, PM2.5, oxides of sulfur, oxides of nitrogen, ammonia, carbon monoxide, ozone, and benzene. The monitoring of the pollutants is carried out for 24 hours, 4 hourly sampling for gases pollutants, and 8 hours sampling for particulate matter, with a frequency of twice a week to have 104 observations in a year. Through this National Air Monitoring Program, Central Pollution Control Board has identified various agencies which are working over the country. Usually these agencies are having academic background and various additional manpower required in order to support this activity is also provided, in addition to necessary instrumentation. So, Central Pollution Control Board ensures the uniformity as well as the consistency of air quality data through their review programs. It provides the technical as well as financial support in the form of operation and maintenance charges. There are large number of the personnel and equipment involved in the sampling, chemical analysis, as well as even the data reporting in peculiar manner. It increases the probability of the variation and the personal biases reflecting the data. This is one of the major difficulties that are associated with the particular region. Over the 24 hours itself, there is a considerable variation in the data being reported. And hence, it is pertinent to mention that these data can be considered to be indicative rather than the absolute data. However, the huge data is available as far as the special site meant for giving this trend over a particular region. We have discussed separately about the air quality standards. However, as we are trying to understand certain air monitoring programs, I am trying to mention here briefly. So this ambient air quality standard is the acceptable threshold level of the air pollutant in consideration to its potential impact on human health and environment. These standards are defined, adopted and enforced by regulatory body of a nation. Every standard should have the standalone definition and its threshold values should be justified appropriately as indicated by certain researcher. The standards may vary nationwide due to various factors such as economic conditions, technological status, as well as epidemiological studies. In countries such as India, China, and United States, these are accepted as national ambient air quality standards. In Canada and European countries, these limits are predefined. So, as we consider the ambient air quality standards as being observed worldwide, their account is given through this table. As far as Indian standards are concerned, here the various pollutant levels, the time weighted average, and the concentration for industrial, residential, rural, and other areas as one category, and for ecologically sensitive area as second category are given by Central Pollution Control Board. So thanks for your attention. I hope the features associated with the air monitoring program that I try to discuss here are clear to you. As we move ahead, we'll discuss about air pollution mitigation measures as far as Indian circumstances are concerned. So bye till then. I wish you very happy learning. Thank you.